This is a good one. When we talk about the world, you can know everything about how the world can change by just looking at your own individual life, your own individual self. And 2 points I want to make. Do you see in your own life, let's assume you've been on the planet long enough, do you see how a inner war or outer war was required to truly give a level of transformation and shift in you that wouldn't happen otherwise? You see, in my own life, if I hadn't had um, any kind of intense, health elements, man, who knows what would have happened to me? I wouldn't, I definitely wouldn't have been diligently on this spiritual path, as a, since what, 15? I just wouldn't. I wouldn't have. I would have been out and trying to accomplish goals and have material success and get mine, whatever that meant. If I had to hurt you, sorry, but like I gotta like pursue what I need to go after. It was only by a inner war that also that I couldn't solve with my own mental resources. Yeah, have some of you found that yet? There's some things in life we can solve with willpower and mental effort and physical remedies, etc. There's some things you can't. Those things that you can't, this is what's responsible for driving somebody deep and thus having a real shift in transformation in consciousness. And then, as a byproduct of that, you usually experience some serenity and peace because you're in touch with the surrender principle because circumstances made it happen. You didn't make it happen. We don't have the will to have peace. Like, I don't have the power to produce peace. Given certain tendencies, certain karmas, certain vasanas, certain defects of character and shortcomings that act out, when I'm born, like this tray or drawer or file cabinet of karma starts to make itself known. Both my gifts, my qualities, and also the dark side. Yeah, this is why life is messy. So all that stuff starts coming up. Have you? You can't do nothing about it. Certain tendencies toward anger or intolerance or impatience or not liking certain people or not liking authority, all that stuff, and then getting into trouble because of my reaction to those things, that causes not peace, right? But like I had to be unpeaceful for a while so I could hit some kind of bottom so that then there was some space and then grace can do for me what I can't do for myself and then all of a sudden I could experience some peace because of the surrender. But I couldn't have surrendered a moment earlier. Okay, that's individual level. The same thing happens on collective level. If you look at your own life, you realize like we're not in control. Well, the whole world, how then can a government be in control of people or society be in control? How can we force peace? You can't force peace. Look in some of these maximum security prisons. Everybody's locked in their cell, individual cells. They're locked in there, and even when they go outside alone. Everything's alone. It's very isolated. So on superficial level, it looks like there's peace. You can bring your kids there and everything, like nobody can get out, assuming the guards aren't corrupt. Looks peaceful, right? Looks, but is it really peaceful? Peace is vibration. Peace is like people are like happy. There's some unity, unconditional love for each other, some appreciation of seeing the self. The self in you is on some level recognizing the self in another. That's peace. There's not peace in those prisons. It's locked down. It's suppressed. It's controlled. Well, that's the only way. If we had some kind of monarch or something that just forced everything, to be in control. Everybody, 8 billion people, all be isolated. Planet, the animals would be happy, maybe, but that wouldn't be peace. So what can you do? You can't do anything. We have to let this evolution run itself. It's through the challenges in the wars that that peace is revealed. It's like a necessary part of the game, of the puzzle, or the recipe. And people that are more seasoned and matured, like, they know that. And this is a warring planet. Look at all the different levels of consciousness on this planet, man. It's insane. There's so many levels of consciousness. They're all mixed together. How are you going to force peace? You can't, like, what can you do? You're going to try to explain to somebody, say, look, things are much better if you, like, be nice or do yoga or something. Have you talked to how many people have you met in your life who, man, they're not going to hear that. You cannot talk somebody into changing their character. There's bank robbers and murderers and what else? Yeah, robbers and all kinds of people. That's what they do. That's what they want to do. It's like I remember when there was some video about girls and guys together. They were excessive activists for being vegetarian, and so what they did was the guys had a branding iron, and the girls were in their swimsuits, right? And they were laying down, and the guys would brand the girl. Crazy, wasn't it? And so they had swimsuits so you could see the brand, you know. So they're willing to suffer and go through that to try to make a statement to those who eat meat that, like, this is what the animals go through, so don't eat meat. And then I was reading some of the comments. This is, I don't know how long ago. This was like, I don't even know what country I was in. This was probably 6, 7, 8 years ago or something. The comments are like, the meat eaters are like, you guys are some of the stupidest people. Hey, can I come brand her too? I'll brand her and eat her or something. You can't change their mentality. This is their level of consciousness. They like that stuff. Like, it just makes them, it just, yeah, you don't change people in that way. And there's like the people, the more, Gandhi did this with the English, where they were very passive and they didn't fight back ever. And it worked. The English left. And then they tried similar things to certain Muslim groups. And they were like, oh, good, you're going to lay there? Okay, that makes my job easier. It doesn't work. So you focus on yourself, you solve your own inner war and external war in whatever way consciousness or intuition is guiding you to do that. You accept that this is a process, and then you're going to be given some light to the world. That's how you bring peace to the world. But don't measure it. Don't say, damn, I affected 5 people for the good. They were already ready and ripe anyway. You didn't really do anything. God's doing everything. But there's 7,999,995 people left. Did I get that right? Who, like, I still have to get them on board. Yeah, you're not going to get them on board. This isn't a cynical way or pessimistic, apathetic way of being, where you're like the gun ho fanatics. They'll say, like, you're being selfish. You're just focusing on yourself. Well, what else are you gonna do? You focusing on yourself is gonna give you the qualitative energy that's gonna affect others for the good. Silently, subconscious, like somehow subliminally. You don't change people by, like, doing that. That, like I said, I've shared a couple examples already. That doesn't work. You can't talk somebody into higher levels of consciousness. You can't do that. This is a magical thing that happens. There's a shift in consciousness when there's supposed to be a shift in consciousness, and because there's so many levels of consciousness here, Everybody can't just shift to the same level at the same time. They have to go through the stages. Somebody that's super identified with their human self and all the characteristics of a human self, and more so with their negative aspects of their self, and that's all they know. Their senses, their desires, their physical body, that's all they know. How are you going to like refine and make their consciousness more subtle to let that stuff come up, let them surrender to it and let it go, and then find peace? You know how far they are down the line? It takes lifetimes for them to evolve to the point where they can even understand this discussion we're having right now. Most people are collateral damage because it's supposed to be. It's okay. Because here's the point. When you leave this body, you find out you can't die anyway. Nobody died. Nobody got tortured. Nobody got hurt. And I don't say that, and you know me, I don't say that as a non-dual cliche. Like, hey, person getting beat up, don't worry. Like, you don't have a body to get beat up. No, you go help him. Unless maybe he needs to get beat up. I don't know. What was the point? Yeah. When you leave this is a show. This is a show, and we have to realize that this is some kind of dream we're living in. And we get a taste of that every night, actually. But then we wake up and forget, and we think, oh, this is the real. Oh, okay, the dream wasn't the real at night. The deep sleep wasn't the real. Deep sleep's more real than this. Deep sleep is closer to our true nature than this. It's a form of, it's a expression of our formless nature when we're in deep sleep. So you remember at the same time that this is a show, okay? Nobody really dies. While at the same time, you play your part. And you know what's funny? That's what we do anyway. It's not like you write that down. Okay, I'm going to remember this as a dream. At the same time, I'm going to cooperate with this role I'm playing. Okay, good. Then that's a good balance. Then I'm not too excessively non-dual and I'm dismissing everything. Nor am I I don't have such strong identity with the human self that there's no conscious awareness of my true nature. Okay, good. I'm going to blend them both. We're doing that anyway. Well, those who are at a certain level, those who your spiritual sanskaras and tendencies have activated, you're doing that anyway. Why do we talk about it? It's God's show. It reinforces what we're already doing. It's better to talk about this than what everyone else in the bar and society's talking about in the news, right? Because that vivifies what we're, the impressions we're receiving. It vivifies either our ignorant side aspect or our awakened aspect that's in process of awakening more and more. So this is why we make videos and good books and good satsangs and all that. But I think there's a lot of people. I never really jumped on that train because I just somehow knew, like, man, I can't. What are you gonna do with all these? Like, you can't change the world. But some, they get really into it. You know, they create so much drama and depression for them, heavy emotions for themselves, and then the mind justifies and says, well, I'm so sensitive though, and I care about people. Yeah, you have to ask God to help you find a balance with that. Of course, I do too, but I don't get like tore up by it. Now it's different. You had something happen right in front of you, a close member who you love, and they're going through it or went through it. Yeah, it's more close. It feels natural. But some people live in this every day for years, just constantly look at how bad everything is and the wars and there's so many. I mean, what do we have? Over 300 countries. I mean, they're all like, yeah, everybody has a situation. But in the wars or in these very intense, these times of strife, this brings a level, man, that accelerates the hell out of consciousness sometimes. People who used to be very selfish and self-centered just by nature, all of a sudden they're in a precarious situation, and they have to, like, all of a sudden the guy he was fighting with, Now a country's trying to bomb them. They need to unite. You see what can happen? The consciousness evolves fast in those situations. See, God knows what he's doing, but we have to have a broad enough perspective and level of consciousness to see beyond our level, our feelings and our mind, because it's very narrow. It just sees bad. That's bad. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a definitely a shadow side of creation. But if we look at the broader picture, there's light that's going to be coming from that, and probably a lot of light if we fast forward long enough, far ahead enough. God's looking at things on eternal level. He's not looking at just this short little timeline, this one little life or one moment. He's looking at how this affects like eternity. Somehow put this, I don't know, wow. How do you put this thing together? So, I don't know. I just did a run at the park and I wanted to make that video. So let me know if you like that. I'll see you.